Hello, everyone. I'm Aerie Saunders, CEO of WebcamStartup.com, and we are being joined by Dominic Ford for the WCSU interview series. We have a lot of exciting topics to talk about today, and I'm looking forward to discussing them with Dominic. He is the JustForFans owner, operator, webmaster, tech guru. He just does pretty much everything, but I'm sure he could give you a better explanation than I can of all the things he does. So Dominic, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Hey guys, thanks for having me. First of all, it's always a pleasure to talk to you and to hang out with you guys. So my name is Dominic Ford. I've been in the adult industry for, let me count, I think it's 13 years now. I started a gay porn studio called DominicFord.com in 2008. And then I think 2010, I started an anti-piracy company called PornGuardian.com, which works to find all the illegal versions of content online on behalf of studios and models and get them removed. And then just over 3.5 years ago, I started JustForFans, which is the number 2 fan platform in the world.
And JustForFans is incredible. So do you want to just give us a brief overview, like what inspired you to start JustForFans and how do you just keep it going so amazingly? I mean, it's number 2. That's incredible. Like, that is such a brag to have. So tell us a little more about it and what JFF offers the community.
Well, I appreciate that, but I'm also looking forward to the day when I can say number 1. So how did JustForFans start? 13 years ago when I started my porn company, and we would spend a lot of money on very flashy films, outdoor, high production values, like crazy lighting and cameras. I would send the finished product, and I was very proud of to my friends and be like, "What do you think?" Expecting them to tell me how brilliant everything was, and instead they would say, "Oh, that's really good," but I'm really like obsessed over watching this college kid on X videos or XTube jerking off in his dorm room, and I would go and look at the footage, and it was that with lit by an IKEA torch in a distant corner, making everything hardly visible. And I just never understood at the time, like how is it that this is interesting to you, and the opus that I just birthed is not. And I realized early on that the authenticity of a model uploading their own content and you kind of being a voyeur into their real world was a lot more interesting to people than a highly polished studio work. And for 10 years of studio life, I kind of battled with that until I could figure out what the next move was. And then fan platforms started. OnlyFans started. I think they were the only ones. And I just looked at their site and what I felt was their lack of understanding of our industry, and said, you know what, I can make a version of this that fits the needs better for a model and understand the ecosystem of the adult universe that they didn't understand.
Perfect. Yeah, as a sex worker, you have taken what OnlyFans started as and turned it into your own platform that is so expansive and has so many more features that are so helpful to the industry. So anyone listening, if you haven't checked out JustForFans, please check it out. This whole interview is not going to be about JustForFans and what they offer. We are going to get into some more specific topics. So if you haven't yet, just please head over there, check it out. It is awesome. There are a ton of features, an amazing team. That's all. I've got to stop sucking JustForFans dick every single time I talk to you. Okay. So into the nitty-gritty topic that we have on the menu. We are going to be discussing Mastercard's guidelines that are coming into effect soon. And if you haven't heard of them and you're in the adult industry, you should definitely look into it because it's going to have a major impact on adult merchants. And if you don't know what that is the websites that are hosting your content. So JustForFans is included in that. So Dominic, what do you and the legal team at JustForFans believe Mastercard's guidelines will cause to happen in the independent adult industry?
a lot. So there's lots of things to unpack there. The, Coming from the studio world, we always had paperwork and with models, 2257s, model IDs, model releases, all that fun stuff is kind of the normal thing that any porn site has to do. And really there's no difference between a studio doing that and a model who's uploading their own content doing that. The only difference being that studios always do that, and models, especially if they're amateur models who've never worked in the studio world, may not be aware of this, and I think have not been given a proper education on what it means to be a porn producer, which is what they are. You may call yourself a model, but if you're the one filming and you're the one uploading, then you are de facto the producer. So these rules apply to you. So on a very high level, what Mastercard is requiring is not entirely beyond the realm of what the law has been requiring forever. And if models have not been doing 2257s and collecting IDs, they've been doing it wrong. And it's not Mastercard's fault that they've been doing it wrong. Now, I understand that it's a very scary thought. But Mastercard has basically said you have to do what you not only have to do what you've been required to do forever, but we're going to take it a step further, which is, I think, the scarier issue. So, and forgive me, I kind of go off on tangents. So 2257s are a contract between you, the model, acting as producer, and the other models in your movie. And it's a contract that says, other model says, I'm over 18 and I'm giving you your the rights to produce this and to use my image, etc. Mastercard is saying that's not enough. We also want a written contract between you, the model, and the site on which you are selling your content. So now, if 2257 between the models, the consent Mastercard wants is a contract between the model and JustForFans, or the model and OnlyFans, the model and name your platform. So this is the step beyond what's legal that Mastercard is requiring, and whereas the law never required platforms to keep tabs on the 2257s because we operate under the assumption that the producer has that stuff, and if they do or don't, it's between you and the government, not between you and us. Mastercard is saying no. The platform needs to maintain this consent record, and if they don't, then the platform can get into trouble. So this is the major tectonic shift between just a 2257 legal requirement and the consent requirements from Mastercard.
Yeah, and I think the thing that really set alarms blazing for a lot of people, performers and sites included, is Mastercard is now reviewing uploaded content to be reviewed before publishing. How do you feel about that as somebody who, runs a website that probably sees tons of content get uploaded every day? And what are your plans for dealing with that?
Let me clarify what you just said, because Mastercard is not doing these things. Mastercard is asking us to do these things so that we can be sure that everything uploaded has the full consent documentation around it. So Mastercard itself does not have a hand. They're not reaching their hands into our system and looking at the content. We're doing that. So yeah, this certainly adds a level of manual labor that a site like mine has not had to do before, and it adds a lot of expense on our end, which is not going to be fun for sure. But less fun is not being able to use credit cards.
Of course. And I know JustForFans does have some cryptocurrency options. Are you going to be implementing these new review guidelines on all content, even stuff purchased through crypto, or how is that going to work?
This is a great question, because crypto, a lot of people think, well, the answer is just drop credit cards and go to crypto. So let's talk about crypto for a second. The short answer to your question is, how one buys the content is different from how do I want to say this? Just because you bought my movie over via crypto doesn't mean someone else didn't buy it with a Mastercard, and so our content regulations have to be for everybody across the entire site, because we don't know how someone's going to purchase the material. Having said that, I think maybe the second thing that you're getting at is, well, what if your account only accepted cryptocurrency and did not accept credit cards at all? In that case, are you still beholden to Mastercard's rules? And the answer is no, you're not. So there definitely is a difference, because we've accepted crypto for the last three years, more than that. Whereas another site might shut your account off completely because if you don't comply with these rules, we won't do that. And our third strike and you're out would instead be to remove credit card processing from your account and only let your account accept crypto.
And that's awesome. And it's great that you have that as an option. And I've known that JustForFans has crypto for a long time. I want to say that you were one of the first to really jump on it, because it is a very good solution for payment processor woes like this. So just as far as adjusting to the new guidelines, can you share what you are planning to do, what your team is planning to do, and how you're going to be streamlining the new review process and just making sure that stuff on JustForFans remains as efficient as possible?
Yeah, sure. So we just launched our consent center. We launched that September 15th, a full month in advance of the October 15th Mastercard rules coming into play. The consent center is kind of an all-in-one place where you can upload the 2257 documents, assuming that you have them, and you can also request consent for your scenes from the other models. And the way it works in a couple super simple ways. There's two types of scene partners that you can have. Type 1 is somebody who's also a model on JustForFans, and type 2 is a model who's not on JustForFans. And whereas other platforms require that you now only work with people on their platforms, we're not requiring that. Instead, we're trying to build some pathways to make it easy for you to get consent. So you as a model from JustForFans now have to sign a blanket consent form that says, I consent to my material being on JustForFans. So everybody on JustForFans has to sign that now. So then if you and I filmed the scene together, for example, and I uploaded it, and in the new consent center, it says, who else is in this scene? And I say, it was you. Then we're all set, because JustForFans already has your consent and your ID on record. So that's it. We're done. If you are not on JustForFans, I can enter in your email address. I can enter in your phone number. And either way, JustForFans will send you a message or will text you saying, Dominic has requested your consent. Click here, and you get a pop-up screen on our site. You do not have to log in. You don't have to be a member. You get a pop-up screen on our site that you check a few boxes. I'm over 18, and I consent to being filmed, and I consent to the image, the video being for sale on JustForFans. And I sign it there's a little signature pad. And then I go through the very quick ID process where I just take a photograph of my ID, and the system reads that and makes sure that you're of age. And I click submit. Now, that's between you, the model, and JustForFans. So you don't have to worry that the model who was filming you is going to get your ID. Maybe you don't know them so well, and why would I give maybe a stranger my ID because they could, fuck with me? You don't have to worry about that. Like, this is between you and JustForFans. And once that's done, then the movie is marked that all the consents have been given.
That's so cool, and that definitely makes things a lot more streamlined, and just ensuring that you guys have the proper information too, just in case they contact you, because I know a lot of sites are fumbling right now since, as we know, they weren't keeping that 2257 documentation. So what is your opinion as far as the legitimacy and necessity of these guidelines that Mastercard is putting into place? I know that you discussed that a lot of it is overlapping with prior 2257 guidelines that were in place, and I completely agree. I feel like the only standout difference is that new reviewal procedure, but outside of that, it seems very similar. So, do you think that this is something they put in place with the intention of actually protecting sex workers and victims of CSAM and trafficking in any way? Or do you think it's just another way that sex workers are being policed by the processing platforms?
Another really good question, and I think that the answer is yes to all of those things. I think they can all be true at the same time. So, does this protect actual sex workers? Yes, because, so for example, if I film a scene with my boyfriend and then we break up and he decides to ruin me because he now hates me, he could claim that I recorded him and he didn't know it, and he could and revenge porn is it's criminal, and so by having the documentation, I can prove that at the time he not only knew about it, but he consented to it. And if you're not keeping 2257 documents that prove that, now you need to be, and with the Mastercard rules, that kind of enshrines this idea, and it does protect me as a sex worker against something like that happening. So it is true that it actually is helpful for sex workers. It is also true that it goes way beyond that and is harmful, because the initial idea here is to protect against, as you say, trafficking and child porn and whatnot. And I'm not clear that it actually will do those things. It just puts more barriers in front of actual sex workers, much like Sesta Fosta, which claims that it was meant to stop trafficking and child porn. It didn't do any of those things. All it did was force sex workers on the street. And so, yeah, I think that there's a good intention here that is very poorly executed.
Yeah. So as far as other sites, I mean, I know you personally. I think JustForFans is, a reliable platform. And other sites may consider doing something similar to what you're doing. And I don't know if I would trust those sites with all of my personal information or a shooting partner's information like that, instead of me just holding on to it myself and providing it at request. So what do you believe that sites should be doing right now if they have a trustworthy reputation like JustForFans has? And then what should newer sites that don't have that reputation be doing?
Work with a third party system. So we, and I appreciate the fact that you trust us. Having said that, we don't keep records. We no longer keep photos of the IDs that are submitted. We have a third, because as much as you trust us, if something were to happen and we got hacked or whatnot, I don't want to have all that stuff sitting on a hard drive. We're going through now, and as people get re-verified with the new system, going through and deleting all the old stuff that is sitting there. So we have a third party that is a verification system that major banks use, and major industries in non-porn use, and they're incredibly secure, and they have army level encryption and security and all this jazz, so that even if you do trust us, we still don't have all that stuff, because we don't, there's somebody else who's better, who all they think about is the security of this information. So if you're a new site or a venerable old site, find a trusted third party solution that is doing this really well, and this is all they think about, because you don't want it to be all you think about.
That's an awesome suggestion. So, how do you think that performers on JustForFans will be impacted by these changes coming? Are there going to be any longer wait times to publish content? Is it going to affect the ability for customers and performers to message back and forth with pictures and media content? Like, what is the nitty gritty on how this will actually impact the average performer?
So, I'm not sure yet. I would like to say it will not impact performers at all. I think that's a bit naive to say that right now. We are ramping up our back end technology, and I believe that will require us to ramp up some staffing as well to be able to do all the things in the back end that we feel that we need to do to comply. So I'm hoping that there's hardly an impact. And I think until we're there, I'm not going to be 100% sure. But my goal is for this to not impact models at all. I think that who it really does impact maybe are people who do content where what's an example? Like the gangbang content where everybody's consenting, but they're kind of anonymous and up to here the people haven't been getting any kind of a paperwork, and so I think it might require those people to vet who's in the movie more and only get the people who are willing to sign the consent forms. So I think that's or people like who do things in public and there's somebody in the background, even if their face is blurred out. I think it will affect those people, but I don't particularly see a way around that. But as far as people who are doing things the kind of the right way, if you will, it should not impose a huge difference now.
All right. And as far as customers, customers love sending media to their favorite performers, whether it be like, dick pics for dick ratings, stuff like that. Is that something that's going to be impacted on your platform, since technically this is sexual content that is unverified and being uploaded by a consumer?
So, no. And the reason why I'm going to say no is that Mastercard is not involved in that interaction. So Mastercard is concerned with transactions happening where the content being bought is potentially I'll say illegal, but not that doesn't conform to their standards and their consent needs. If I'm sending you something for free and there's no transaction having to do with that, then Mastercard is not involved.
All right. And do you think that these new guidelines are going to increase the desirability of just free content in general?
I doubt it. I doubt it just because people are in this to make money. And so I'm not sure what the advantage is there for people to now rely on free content more, because this is, unless this is somebody's fun hobby, this is people's livelihoods.
Gotcha. So
it's a good question. I haven't thought about that. It's a good question. What do you think? Do you think that all of a sudden people are going to be doing a bunch of free content? Like to what end?
I think it's complicated because I have noticed with OnlyFans, that's the next thing we're going to be talking about, is their ban and then rescission of their adult ban. Over on OnlyFans, free trials became like the new hot way to get people to join, subscribe to your account, and pay for your content. And it seems like even prior to these new guidelines being put in place, free content is starting to see a rise, and I'm not sure necessarily what's causing it, but payment processors continuing to alienate sex work in general could definitely have an impact on the free content market, and I could definitely see it blowing up. But also there's the negative of, like, if you're posting to Pornhub, there's no longer an integrated site that can take payments because Model Hub still doesn't have payment processing. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all pans out. I'm not really sure how it's going to affect the free market either, but I thought maybe you might have some speculation.
Free. So there's two different things that you talked about. One is content that is free, period, and then the other idea is free promos that then lead to a subscription. So I don't know that I would lump those two ideas together, because if you're putting in your credit card and saying, okay, I get 2 days free, and then it subscribes me, that's not really free content. That's just, I'm giving you a teaser and then you're paying for it. So I don't think the rules change there.
Well, with the OnlyFans thing, the free trial, once it ends, it doesn't automatically charge their card or anything. It's just free, straight out free.
Oh, well, that's interesting. I didn't know that. That's you're educating me on that. I don't actually ever go to their site. So yes, I mean, that's an interesting question. So if it's just free, well then then none of these rules really apply. But unless it somehow leads to you making money, I'm not exactly sure what the point is.
Yeah, I don't really get the new marketing strategies for most fan clubs platforms either, so I'm pretty lost. I was just wondering if you had any thoughts on it.
We can both be lost together, I guess. Okay.
So let's talk about that OnlyFans ban and banning adult content. First of all, I need you to pinky promise me right here live you're never banning porn. I know you're not, but I need you to say it to everybody listening.
No, we are never banning porn. We are a porn site, which other platforms will not say that they are. We are 100% staffed, and I mean 100% staffed by sex workers. And I define that either as somebody who is performing, either somebody who's performing on camera and has a page on JustForFans, including perhaps other platforms, or has been in the porn industry for a very long time. In the case of my staff, anyone who's not a performer has been in the porn industry for at least 10 years. So we are 100% a porn site, and I have no need. If I want to expand and do something for magicians, then I'll create a site for them. That's not just for fans. Like JustForFans is a porn site.
And you have expanded and created other sites for other niches, which is incredible. Do you want to talk to us about that a little bit?
Well, sure. So case in point, we have a site called Drag for Fans, which is a non-porn site for drag queens to have the same kind of user base and subscription base and recurring income for what they do. So we've already have expanded outside of porn, but our core product is JustForFans, which is the porn site, and that will never change.
Can we cross our fingers and hope that Magic for Fans will be coming soon?
I'm sure a lot of people are waiting and not being able to sleep until that happens.
All right, so I don't want to get you into hot water, but I need to ask, do you believe that OnlyFans really was going to ban adult content because of payment processing, or do you think that it was more a personal financial greed-driven decision?
I have a lot of speculation here, and part of me is afraid to put a marker out there because I don't want to fan the flames of things that may or may not be real. So no, I honestly, I don't know. What I know is that because of this, there's another site out there which almost everybody agrees is owned by the people who own OnlyFans, is all of a sudden getting a lot of traction. And I don't think that that's a mistake. I don't think that's an accident. And so I think part of this was to move people to another platform the same people own, that doesn't have a reputation. So that's number one. Number two, yeah, I mean, I think there's something about the owners wanting to get out and getting out meant cleaning the site up so that other investors could do other things with it. And they were very happy to throw away the baby with the bathwater in order to get that. And then all of a sudden, everybody in porn was like, "You just did us dirty," and they all started leaving. And then I think maybe the investors got scared. I don't really know. And then OnlyFans reneged, and now everybody crawled back to them like nothing happened. And so I think there's a couple points here. The first point is that OnlyFans has shown their true colors. At any moment, they are happy to throw away and turn their backs on the adult industry because they feel like it. And I don't have to say that. They did that. And they could easily do it again. And to not think that is tremendously naive. And number two, they're a very opaque company. There's no transparency there. No one even knew who owned OnlyFans until recently. And who the real owners are and what percentage they own, still nobody actually knows. And there are other companies like mine, for example. Everybody knows who owns it. We're part of the industry. We're from the industry. When everyone says like, oh, why isn't there a safe place to go that's built by sex workers? There is. But now there's an upstart company, which I believe is owned by OnlyFans, that some people are running to because they promised 90% payout for the first X number of months. And now all these people who were on their high horses about we should go to a site that's sex worker built is going to another site that they don't know who owns it, they don't know where they come from, and they don't know what their plan is. But they saw 90% and started running. And I think that's just the most egregious error that our industry is making right now.
Agreed. And I don't quite understand how the things that happen as far as groups of performers getting together and picking these sites actually does unfold. Like, if I was on the committee for like, let's pick where we're going to chat, it's definitely not going to be Telegram. I just don't understand who makes the calls on these decisions at the end of the day.
And I think that at some point, people who own these new sites, I don't know why I'm afraid to name them, but there's a new site that's gaining some traction right now, and I think that it will come out who owns them, and people will be like, fuck, maybe I shouldn't have went blindly because somebody said 90%.
I mean, either way, if we're talking about the same site here, whatever happened is they are owned by the people who previously owned OnlyFans, or the site is so bad that they didn't hire a lawyer to make their terms of service and they stole it from OnlyFans and didn't change out the company name. So either way.
Well, yes, but also point three is that the fact that I don't know and you don't know who owns it is the point. Like, why is anybody running to another site that is not transparent, not from the industry, and nobody knows who owns them? Why is that somehow safer to these people than going to sites where they know who owns them? And I don't mean just mine. This is not just a ploy to get people on my site. There are other sites in the industry where everyone knows who owns them. So why are they not more viable than this site that is as black box as OnlyFans is or was?
Completely agree with you there. On that topic, I mean, I know that you don't hold like any like resentments to any of your competition. You're just all in the same vertical. Do you have any suggestions for performers looking for a trustworthy fan club style site like OnlyFans other than JustForFans?
I think that models get very fixated on numbers. So OnlyFans gives out 80%. For the bulk of our existence, we were paying out 70%, but we increased that to 80% to make it a very easy switch once OnlyFans announced their news. So now we're 80% also. I think people get very fixated on that because there's some sites that are saying we'll give you 100% for the next 2 months. Well, awesome, but look at their traffic, because 100% of zero is zero, and you need to think long term. And I think a lot of models are thinking very short term about, 90% sounds great, 100% sounds great, 300% sounds great. But if a site has no traction and no traffic, and their user experience is terrible, and there's no consumers there spending money, then as I said, 100% of zero is zero. So look at who has traffic, look at who has good buzz online. Look what sites are actually paying their models on time. These are the things that are important.
Completely agreed. So tell us about that recent payout percentage increase. For the longest time, like Just for Fans was not paying 80%, and it really bothered some people for some reason, even though Just for Fans offers traffic, which is something that's not offered by a majority of the other fan club platforms. So what inspired that payout percentage increase? And tell us a little more about your exclusive model program too, and what the payout is like for that.
Yeah, sure. So the first thing is that we're number 2 under OnlyFans, and we were number 2 all along. We were getting 70%. So even though we were not paying 80%, we were still number 2. And below us were all the people who were giving 80% or more. And I think that's a lot about customer service and a lot about features and functionality and a lot about our traffic. So having said that, a full year and a half ago, I asked my numbers guy if he could work up a slide deck that showed me how we could go from 70 to 80%, because really that's all anybody complains about from us is that we're more expensive. And he worked up all these scenarios, and they all required a certain number of more models to come into the system over a short period of time to make up for that gap. And our rate of growth, we've been growing steadily for sure, but not at the rate where that difference would be tenable easily, So we could have easily gone bankrupt in year 2, for example, had we been doing 80%, because of how much money we were putting into the system and building things out and building an amazing customer service team. Like, these things all cost money. So when OnlyFans made their announcement, and we saw how many new models were coming to the site on a daily basis, I called him back and I said, look, can we revisit the scenario? Because here's how many models are coming to the site now, which blows away your model of what it would take. And so finally, and I've been trying for a year and a half, and he kept saying, don't do it. Finally, he's like, yeah, it seems like, this is going to happen and you're getting this number of new models, then that will wash out the debt that you would be in by giving out an extra 10%. So finally, we pulled the trigger.
And that's awesome. I was so excited to hear that you were able to pull that trigger, because I know it was pretty much the only thing holding back quite a few performers, because a lot of people can't look past the whole extra 10% for traffic thing.
Well, and I hear that, and look, and that's why we have these people running like lemmings to this other site, giving 90% without caring that they don't know who owns it. And so yeah, I felt the issue with not being up to par on that. But what people also don't realize is, like, yeah, OnlyFans is giving 80%. They have shit customer service. Their banking is constantly failing. Their payouts are constantly failing. Like, all of these problems, one of the reasons is they don't put money into anything, and their relationships weren't adult vendors who charge more money because you're adult. And all these things cost money. So it's great that you want 80%. Do you also want customer service? Do you also want to get paid on time? Like, you want everything, but don't understand that costs money. And that was why we couldn't do it for all those years. We simply couldn't afford it while doing everything correctly. But again, with the influx now, that has counterbalanced that.
Awesome. So what is your payout percentage now for exclusive models, and what is required to become a Just for Fans exclusive fan club performer?
Awesome. So non-exclusives are now 80% across the board for every kind of transaction. Exclusive models, there are 80% for subscriptions, but then every other kind of transaction, and there's lots of things like tips and entry to live cams and SMSs and pay-per-view chat videos and stuff like that. That's all 85%. And there's a lot of people where their money is made in that, not just in subscriptions. And so anybody who makes money outside of simply subscriptions are getting 85% if you're an exclusive. And to be an exclusive, it's pretty simple. You just need to use Just for Fans as your OnlyFans platform. That's the only requirement.
I think a lot of performers get nervous and think like, oh no, I can't sell my videos somewhere else. I can't do phone sex somewhere else. But just to clarify for everybody, You heard it here. It is just your only fan club platform.
Yeah, we're not right now. We're not making restrictions on being on like a clips for sale or on Chatterbait or things that are kind of different animals. Right now, we're just looking at fan platforms. So you can't be on OnlyFans. You can't be on any of these new upstart fan sites that are coming out. Things that look and feel and walk like a fan site. That's who we consider our direct competitors, and that's what we're talking about.
Awesome. So you guys listening here should really consider becoming exclusives at JustForFans if you're super concerned about the percentage you're getting, because not only do they have traffic, but 85%, like, whew, that is something. I get 88% and I have my own payment processing.
Oh, wow. There you go.
Yeah. All right. So how are all of these recent fluctuations in the industry impacting JustForFans? Like, obviously, when OnlyFans tried to pull the plug on adult, I'm sure you saw thousands of signups, as were most of the other platforms that offer fan club services. So how is it impacting JustForFans, and how do you think these changes are going to continue to impact it once the Mastercard guidelines come into effect and just the changing of all these platforms? If OnlyFans does actually end up banning adult, what do you think is in the future for JustForFans?
Well, yeah. So that week when they had banned porn before they went back on it, our traffic was 5 times what it normally is, and our daily model signups, like verifications, God, I don't even know how you, like hundreds, like probably 5 to 10 times more than what we normally see. Like it's crazy, like absolutely crazy. It certainly simmered down once OnlyFans went back, but we're still, traffic and model verifications and sales are all up by do quick math in my head. I'd say around 30%, which is a huge number. So yeah, I mean, we've seen a huge change, just in the fact that people, OnlyFans has shown people once again don't trust us, but now in a super egregious way. So yeah, so everything is up for us, which is good, and I see that continuing. I mean, every day we are working to make the site better. We're working to figure out more ways to make our models money. Every day I'm striking better deals with payout processors to make sure that they get their money quicker and with better exchange rates. And like, I'm doing everything I can to make sure that models are happy on our site. And we have a tremendous staff of people who do the same thing, day in and day out. So, I knock on wood, I see things continuing and doing really, really great for us.
And luckily for everyone listening, if you ever need to reach out to Dominic, he makes himself very available, unlike OnlyFans and, sites that tell the mainstream media what they're doing before they tell their performer base. So if you ever have any questions for Dominic about JustForFans, how can they reach you?
Yeah, great. So my Twitter, it's at Dominic Ford, DOMINIC FORD. We also have an incredible customer service staff, which is headed by Alice Scary, and Alice and a couple of them man the support Twitter. And so the JustForFans model support Twitter is JFF model support, and the DMs on that are open, as they are on mine as well. And so if you're a model with specific questions, go to at JFF model support on Twitter, and you can ask them their questions there, and either Alice or somebody else in the staff will get back to you very quickly. And of course, you can message me as well. They're usually a little bit faster these days than I am, but either way.
I am deeply in love with Alice Scary, and they will get back to you so quickly.
Yeah, Alice is absolutely incredible, and it's every day I'm grateful that they and I cross paths, for sure.
And that's what it's like to have a team full of actual sex workers. Oh, it's beautiful. Do you have anything else you would like to talk about while you have the microphone here?
Thank you for that. So just our whole company ethos is about community, and specifically the sex worker community, and that's very obvious when you talk to the models on our site, when you talk to our staff, and when you look at the kinds of things that we do as a company. So, for example, we're the only adult platform that has a charitable giving arm. We work with, I think it's 7 or 8 different charities now, and that number grows as we find other charities to work with. And our models can elect to give a percentage of their income to these charities. This is a very big part of us being players in the community. And so we have LGBT charities. We have 2 different trans charities. We have sex worker charities and lobbying organizations that lobby for sex workers. We have mental health support for sex workers as charities. We have a lot of very worthy organizations that directly impact our community. And I'm looking at the site right now. To date, our models have raised over $86,000 for these charities. The largest one of that is Black Lives Matter, which we're just $40 shy of having raised $40,000 for them. $40,000 for Black Lives Matter, and that's an incredible show of how we and our models believe in giving back to the community and being a good upstanding member of our community. And you're not going to find that anywhere else.
So that's awesome to hear. Just for Fans is composed of a great team of people led by a great leader, and they are just doing great work within the community, constantly doing things to benefit and really just make life easier and better for performers. So if you haven't yet, please check out Just for Fans. Thank you so much, Dominic, for coming on and discussing Mastercard. And I'm sure in the future we'll have you back again because, as you and I know, as sex workers, the industry likes to try to fall apart every once in a while. So I hope I'll get to talk to you soon.
We live to fight another day. So I appreciate the time and the platform. So, Aerie, thank you so much, and continue the great work you're doing.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for listening. All of the links discussed here will be in the show notes. So check that out and make sure that you support Just for Fans over on Twitter and directly on their website. Have a fantastic day, everybody.